Welcome back to the P.I Show. Before the break we were discussing an interesting case about a cleaner who was the subject of a robbery. Tony, the cleaner in the end got $277,000 in damages. I think the court said $100,000 for pain and suffering and the balance for loss of income. Sounds reasonable?
Reasonably fair result. I thought general damages was a bit light because he had
$100,000.
He had the severe psych, plus a couple of car accidents where he sustained back injuries and neck
Judge
injuries.
Tony would have awarded a bit more.
I would have given him 180, I reckon.
Okay. The next case we've got is a prisoner. He was at a low security prison in New South Wales. He was in prison for sexual offences against minors. Commonly known in prison as a rock spider. But he was in a low security prison, and one night a number of prisoners broke into his room, bashed him with an iron bar, and I think he suffered head injuries.
I think there was four that attacked him with balaclavas and they cracked his skull. He was lucky to be alive.
So he then sued the prison. What sort of claim is that?
Well, Harry, the thing about this fellow is that the prison was aware that it is at risk because no one likes pedophiles in prisons. That he shouldn't have been with the general public in that system. There was classifications made of various prisoners. He was in that classification because he wanted to go on early work release. But that meant that the prisoners could move around freely within this prison. And also there was a couple of issues there in relation to the locks. The lock in his cell was defective, so he couldn't lock himself in. So what happened was they just opened his door and just attacked him. There was no security. There was very little security.
But look, the prison is mostly people who are, have obviously criminal records. They're in there for good or bad reasons, but they're in there. They're prone to criminal activities. How can a prison patrol and police all these issues where people are bashed and hit and assaulted in prison?
Well, Harry, this one
isn't it sort of putting the bar very high?
No. In this case here, there'd also been a threat made towards him, and they took it lightly. They actually asked him. They said to him, "What do you think about the threat? Are you worried?" He goes, "Nah, I'm okay."
Oh.
But
he said he was okay.
He said he's okay because
what could the prison do then?
He shouldn't have been in there. He should have been segregated from the rest of the community. He should have been in a section of a prison that's got pedophiles, sexual offenders, because they're all in there for the same reason.
But someone might have picked a fight with him, and he might have been bashed for some other reason.
Yeah,
Is it realistic for a prison to be held liable for assaults in prison? Is it really realistic?
The answer is yes, because if we went through each and every item of breach of duty that the judge found in this case, and also the High Court, it was just incredible. I mean, the courts also look at the cost of rectifying or making something safe.
So they could have spent $20 at Bunnings
on a lock
and got a proper lock.
Yes.
So that would have solved...
I don't know if it would have cost $20, but it wouldn't have been expensive.
That would have solved one problem.
Well, they couldn't have got in. They
At night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they wouldn't have got in.
It was a relatively cheap remedy, a proper fair income lock,
if you want to look
and
at
he would
the
have been
issue,
secure.
Precisely. If you want to look at the issue of breach and fault, the best way to do it is there a remedy and what's the cost?
How much does it cost?
If it's reasonably cheap, you should implement it.
Okay.
Yep.
But he succeeded against the prison. In Victoria, the Victorian government has put in place legislation where if you are a prisoner and have a personal injury claim in prison and then are released, if you win that claim, the money doesn't go to you. It spends 12 months in a trust account, and anyone who's been the victim of your crime can apply to have some sort of compensation. Is that fair?
I think so. It picks up people that were assaulted, people whose houses were burnt down.
But people are serving time in prison for that very offence. So they've served time, Something's happened in prison. They might have been assaulted or slipped or fallen or tripped. They've had injuries. They've got compensation, but yet they can't access their money.
But why should they be immune to being sued? If you or I bash someone and it wasn't self-defence, would be liable to the person you bashed.
But this is after the event. It might be 5 years. You've been in prison for 5 years. You have a slip or a fall. You then get $50,000, but it's put in a trust account, and people who you bashed, in theory, could claim all that $50,000. Is that fair?
Well, they might have to sue the prisoner that got awarded the money.
But they just put up their hand, I think.
I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about it at this stage. And
But
I'm not
anyway,
sure.
look, it's been brought in by the state of Victoria.
I think it's fair.
And
to a point.
I'm not so sure. We've got
Harry, I've got
a variety of responses from our website. We've got various questions that come in,
I've got
each
a question
week.
I want to put to you. One of the viewers, Gina, said that her daughter was shopping in the local shopping centre. She was walking through the centre and she slipped on maybe a grape or something similar to that. What do you say about her daughter's rights? She sustained a very nasty leg injury.
Well, first question is she slipped and fell. She's got a minor injury.
No,
and
she's fractured her ankle.
She's fractured her ankle.
She's had surgery.
She needs what in Victoria has been put in as a bar, a barrier. She needs a significant injury.
Which is what does that mean?
Well, it's got to be more than 5% on an
American Guides.
American Guide. So look,
She's going to have long-term effects of this injury. On the balance, she'll probably get 5%, won't she?
if she gets 5%, that's the first question.
Then what do you do? What
and
comes
then
next?
You've got to see whether the supermarket shopping centre is at fault, and you've got to try and work out, is there an arguable case? What sort of claim
Well, you've got to look
is it?
at their cleaning systems, don't you?
Lighting, the floor, you've got to look at the shoes she was wearing, you've got to look at the system of cleaning, how shelves and things are organised, how busy it is, night time, daytime, school holidays.
The important thing is that she's asked the question,
And
she should consult a lawyer.
Should consult a lawyer. That's all we've got time for. Don't forget to tune in next week. And in the meantime, if you've got any queries, please contact us through our website. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Harry.
We
Looks forward to seeing the viewers next week.
okay. See you next week.